Welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show, the podcast that brings together industry leaders to discuss the latest trends, insights and strategies. So sit back and relax, let's get inspired by the amazing women who are shaping the future of professional women in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome everyone to the Business Women Australia podcast show. Just hands up, thumbs up, you can all hear me? Oh, good, great. Okay, I have done these introductions mute for a couple of minutes in the past, so it's good to see our systems working well. I'm Lyn Hawkins. I'm the National Director and Founder of Business Women Australia, and I'm very excited to be having our wonderful guests on the Business Women Australia podcast show today. I'm actually on the lands of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation in Boorloo in Perth, and we're streaming across the nation today. We're going across LinkedIn, across Facebook, across YouTube, and you'll be able to find us on your favourite podcast show, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, wherever. So if you're in catch-up, we hope that you're enjoying the show and it's all going well. So today we're shifting the dance landscape with STRUT. They're Western Australia's premier choreographic centre. And with me on the show today is Sofie Burgoyne, she's the co-director, Aine Whelan, the chair, and Tara Samaya, who is the choreographic assistant to Sidi Labi Chikawi. And he is an incredible, internationally renowned choreographer on Manifest. He's Belgium, and there's a really interesting story I'm sure the ladies are going to share with us about how this is all happening and putting Western Australia on the map in terms of creativity, culture, and community. I'm a big fan of the arts, but I'm learning so much about this world of contemporary dance, and I'm really happy to share this show with you. I think we might start off with a question for Sofie. Sofie, tell us about STRUT's mission and the role that STRUT has in shaping the independent dance sector in Western Australia.
Sure, thanks, Lyn. So STRUT is a choreographic centre, as you said, based here in Boorloo. We nurture and sustain a thriving community of diverse dance artists. We have about 250 members, and we connect them with audiences to share their work. Our vision is a local, national, and global network of dynamic dance artists whose work reflects and contributes to our understanding of the world and celebrates dance as a driver of human connection. So we straddle two elements. Everyone will probably understand what a dance company is, that they present dance out to audiences. We do that, but we also known as what is a service organization. So we service the dance sector, independent artists and non-professional artists, and we allow them to build skills and experience in choreography and dancing. And then like a dance, oh, sorry, you go.
No, that's keep going.
Well, like a dance company, then we also present shows to audiences, which includes the one coming up called Manifest with the choreographer you mentioned, Sidi Labi Chikawi. So I think in Western Australia, dance artists would think of STRUT both as a lifeline and then also an aspiration. So we provide anything from like a daily technique class to hone their professional skills, to a platform that allows them to present their work in Perth Festival.
It's it's such the thing that struck me when I saw and met some of the dancers at the Freshy Bay Yacht Club is that it's such an incredible, it's almost like Olympic sort of level physicality, commitment, this incredible amount of resilience that is in the community, and it's a tough community to survive in and to thrive in. Aine, you've taken on this role as chair, and you're clearly passionate. I loved your speech at that event, and that's what inspired me actually to really want to get you guys on the show. Tell me, how is it and how important is this empowering of the local, national and international dance artists through this? It's a year-long program, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, I think when you think about STRUT, it is a whole ecosystem from the beginning of the life cycle of performance, artistic development, right to the end of when you've got presentation, which connects us with audiences. When I think about STRUT, and I mentioned that in our very successful fundraiser, was that STRUT is like an incubator. It is a place for artists and to experiment. It is a safe environment for people to connect, to create work, and they're not doing that in a vacuum. So we include people, they're from over East, all around Australia, the Asia Pacific. We'll have international choreographers coming in. Now, you can imagine what that does to the dialogue. It's much bigger than STRUT. It's much bigger than the individual voice, than the individual artistic director. It creates connections that are lasting. And with STRUT, in terms of our the work we do and our purpose, we've got sort of three core areas. We seed work, so with the beginning of work and the creation of work. We develop that work through choreographic opportunities, and we present that work, whether it's in workshops or fully produced presentations like Manifest, which is coming up for Perth Festival 2025. And of course, also part of that is skills development and training. And you mentioned about, the sense of athleticism. But if you think about the arts as an incredibly disciplined, repetitive environment and career, and artists have to continue training just like sports people, or just like people in science and research who test, who pilot. We often think about those words as being exclusive to business or startups, but in actual fact, the arts have been doing it forever and continue to do that. And individual artists every day take risks in putting themselves out there and keeping that training going. STRUT is a place where people can come to find their place in whatever part they are in their professional journey, and find a way to retain their relevancy in the practice. Because you've got to remember, in this country, we don't have many funded dance companies as such, where you have a full-time corps de ballet or corps of dancers. So how do those independent artists continue their art form practice? And we also don't just deal with dancers, we deal with musicians, circus, puppetry, whatever, that theatre, of course. So it brings together all of those art forms, which is pretty magical, actually.
It absolutely is. And it's sort of before that fundraiser, I hadn't heard of STRUT. So I was just blown away by the fact that we had this amazing group and collective in an initiative coming out of Western Australia. I think that's really phenomenal, linking us to the world. I mean, we are one of the most isolated cities in the world, and to have this opportunity for our dancers is really quite extraordinary. Sofie, if I can shoot back to you, I'm really keen to really explore the creativity and inclusivity that STRUT is really fostering, and get you to just share some of the cultural exchange and the importance of that from artists with different backgrounds.
Sure. I guess so. James O'Hara, the other half of the co-direction at STRUT Dance, and I, when we started directing STRUT about 2.5 years ago, we wanted to pose the question of who was in the room already, and then who might not know that a choreographic center is somewhere where they can be and be supported by already. As we all know, in Australia, dance has been practiced here for over 60,000 years by First Nations people. And we wanted to, there are a lot of lineages in Australia in terms of contemporary dance from Western Europe, which has been a wonderful link across the world, as you say, that we're one of the most isolated cities in the world. But we wanted to expand that out, basically. And so we've had a range of different methodologies to do that. Some of our more successful ones have been through bursary places. So we have a 3-week workshop series as part of Perth Moves, which is part of Perth Festival also. And last year we offered about 25 bursary places that sort of identified different geographical locations and different abilities within the body, different cultural backgrounds. And it brought these 25 bursary participants into the workshop series. And what that did was then transform the stories that were being told in the room and the types of dances that were being shared amongst each other. We continue to do that, and for this performance manifest in 2025, we have 2 First Nations fellowships that we partnered with Black Dance, which is the national service body for First Nations dance artists. And in the actual class, we have 4 First Nations members, which is really, really exciting. And I guess we felt like this was really integral to this performance because Sidi Labi Shakawi, a Belgian-Moroccan choreographer, he's sort of, he's one of the world's leaders and advocates for intercultural dialogue in artistic spaces. And we know that it's his aspiration when he's making for it to be collaborative, to be inclusive, and a multicultural experience where, you know, all the dancers from the different cast members are allowed to come into the room and the piece is made from that difference rather than a similarity. And so the work itself and the stage itself holds a bodies of difference, but kind of unifies them through a sense of a purpose through the choreography.
Yeah, it's I was reading in the Weekend Arts piece. That's a great article. Really, in terms of Labi's extraordinary work, and thinking it sort of, for me, I'm Joe Average really, and classic in terms of a public audience member. Thinking about the arts and this dance movement as being this extraordinary way to protest against discrimination in a beautiful way, in a creative and wonderful way, and to be able to stand up for so many things that we share as humans, and to bring that together as a peaceful movement for change. And it's really it's so inspiring, and it's not something that commonly people like me would think about. We're often entertained without really unraveling the depth of what we're seeing and what's moving for us. Perhaps if I can throw to Tara, maybe share your experience there on Manifest. You've obviously worked with this renowned choreographer who's really opening so many doors across the world. How does this Manifest project align with STRUT's vision of that human connection through dance?
Very good question. I think, first of all, that dance connects to the humanness because you're empathizing with something so powerful, with witnessing someone be at terms and in their experience. And I think there is this quite profound possibility of what we're capable of in this awe-inspired way, to just use our bodies as our vehicles. And my relationship with Labi started in a few years back now. I was opera ballet Flanderen's rehearsal director, and it happened to fall upon a season where he presented Satyagraha, which is the 3-hour opera of Gandhi that is the premise to depart from for Manifest. And I had these profound moments with Labi inside and outside the studio, but actually really the work was done when I watched the show, I think 6 weeks straight every second night, and I cried every night. I was profoundly moved by how the harmony of designing experiences for people to move together that come from really, really eclectic backgrounds of not just dance history, but just physicality, spirituality. And I found the creative way to find harmony within these groups to coexist in the theme of the works, and just the Philip Glass music just sent me, and every night it would surprise me. So that's how I fell in love with Labi, and to understand the deep impact of his work and how relevant it is to Forest Place and right now in Australia, and the opportunity to use dance, which is a peaceful form that often is done without text, so it can pass beyond languages, beyond barriers, and place it in a space that's a thoroughfare like Forest Place that is known to have this history of protest. So in the space of this inspired place and the convergence of those two things coming together to find a performative avenue, it's really exciting. And I feel that because it's a relatable space, a site-specific location, and out of those kind of four walls and black theatrical setting, like traditional theatrical setting is placed, I feel that people will be able to connect on all walks of life, let alone it being accessible. It's free. It might just arise for people to just stumble upon this high poetic athleticism that happens to be at the same time and place as them.
I mean, it's a big deal for those listeners who aren't aware of this. You know, the Dance Moves Dance Hub is going to be in Forest Place, as Tara just mentioned, and it's coming out of where it was originally going to be held, wasn't it? Sofie, tell us how that came about.
So we have had the Perth Moves Dance Hub in the State Theatre Centre courtyard for the past 2 years. And originally, you know, it was always our intention that this was, the hub was for everyone. There was free access, and that anyone could come and participate in a dance class or a dance event and watch dance performances for free. And as the audiences grew with us over the 2 years, and also as we sort of sensed that the courtyard still had some walls around it and was in this sort of a theatre complex, we went to talk to Anna Reese at Perth Festival for her first year of festival next year, the artistic direction, and started to talk about different places around the city that would take the walls away, I guess, from the access. And it was kind of a great alignment when we both had almost said at the same time that we've been thinking about Forest Place. And from then, it's just been straightforward, negotiating with the City of Perth to have our stage right there in Forest Place.
And that's going to be performed at 8 p.m, February the 18th to the 20th. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we will include that in our show notes as well. So for our listeners here, if you're going to be wanting to see something extraordinary that's going to move you and have that experience that Tara's just explored with her experience, we're seeing how much can happen when you see something that's unexpected. And so this amazing experience of human movement actually together in a place like Forest Place, as you say, that's been a place where there have been protests over the ages. You know, it is a beautiful setting. I think it's going to be extraordinary. I'll definitely be coming along to that one. Perhaps also, Aine, like I'm very interested in how STRUT supports sustainability and that growth for independent dance artists and the role that the collaboration and arts organisations play in that.
Well, we all know the saying that partnerships are the way forward. Partnerships are always how you can get better outcomes for everyone. But I think it's also really important to investigate what do we actually mean by sustainability and what do we mean by growth? Because, you know, funding bodies or sponsors or others will have different viewpoints about what that looks like. As an independent dancer or artist, you're on your own. You're like a sole trader. You are always having to invest in your own training. You don't have a company paying for it. You have to you're always looking for your next gig. You're always thinking beyond the project. And that can be very difficult. So at STRUT, when we look at sustainability, it's about, first of all, being a home for where independent dance artists can and musicians and other artists can come together to talk about the potentials, creativity, how they can support each other. And you know, that is a really critical and important thing. And in actual fact, when you look at the success of STRUT more recently, where we've been for the first time awarded triennial funding, a 4-year funding actually from Creative Australia, that is actually a testimony to the work that STRUT's doing and how we're filling a service not only in WA but actually nationally. So with thinking about sustainability, it's about employment, it's about being able to grow your practice, but also grow your confidence. I'll talk about, I mean, we have partnerships with presenting partners. We don't have a venue as such or a theatre, not that we need a theatre necessarily, which I'll get to shortly, but so we have partnerships with Pika, the Blue Room. So some of our projects, we have a Seeds project where we give up to $10,000 a year to a choreographer or a choreographic team to develop a work. So that's one thing, and then that can be presented in a venue that we partner it. We also have Locale, which is a fantastic new initiative, and that takes audiences and performance completely out of the theatre. So if you think about traditional theatre experiences, people expect to see the performance on stage and people sit far away in the seats and there's no interaction, there's no necessarily involvement or interactivity. Locale is about bringing community practices in art and dance that have been investigated in the regions with Annette Carmichael and bringing it into city communities. And so we're partnering with the city of Belmont, the city of Stirling, and a few others to actually create site-specific or community-specific works in people's communities. Now, when you think about sustainability, that's then bringing the language of dance that goes beyond the genre of dance into communities to make real meaning. And it's also, most critically, developing audiences, because we cannot talk about art form development without audience development. And that's the sort of ecosystem that we exist in. And so we're very grateful. Obviously, Perth Festival is a presenting partner, Performing Lines. Our partners, Eastman, City Labby Shakawi's company, has been very generous with us in partnering with us on this project. So what that does, and Tara, if I may use you as an example, you're a really good example of sustainability and growth as an artist. Tara's come out of WAPA and now has this international career and is being sustained through those connections. So, for example, we had the most amazing 2-week workshops with two representatives, Nicola and Nick Coutier from Eastman, and we had 60 performers for 2 weeks working with them. And I went to see the final showing, and you know, I saw 60 people have the most extraordinary experience of their lives with these international choreographers who were incredibly generous in terms of developing a language that was informed by, but also informed by Western Australian, and we had international artists and national. And at the end of that, I thought to myself, looking at those people, these people will be connected for life. They may not perform together immediately, but that will happen down and you'll have that connection. And then it's up to you. So STRUT provides that platform for people to connect and then go forward. And maybe, Tara, you could talk about your journey a little bit and how that works in terms of sustainability and growth for you.
Well, yeah, I have to say that it does feel like a bit of a full cycle moment. I mean, I think it's been 20 years, Sofie, but we actually graduated together at WAPA. And so for the wheel to be spinning, to be back in the same place at the same time and making work feels incredible. I've only just relocated back to Australia over the last year. I spent like good quality COVID time in Europe in big institutions, actually, because it's quite a lot more common from the State Ballet of Berlin to Opera Ballet Flandern, going from a principal dancer role to a rehearsal director role. And it's one of those things that I missed my country. I missed the way we eat up space because we've got so much nature that we respond to. And I miss the kind of wild terrain that's cultivated in the culture in Europe. Have these big institutions that have the audience, like you say, to bring that ecosystem together. And coming back to Australia, I realised that since, being landed here a year and having that time to experience the nature again, experience space, experience this immersion. So Perth might be isolated, but we actually are immersed in this like natural world. But yeah, there is a big difference. And coming back to WAPA, I sense that coming back to the area where I trained, but it feels incredible. Like if I had as a student to be exposed to a work or a little bit of a process, the audition process, like a massive call out for this audition process, the people and the artistic collaborators and co-creators of that space energetically just showing up, being a co-creator as a dancer. You get to know people on a deeper level that words can't express when you dance with people, when you do these physical tasks, because you're exposing yourself to intuition and into a different space of creativity. And the body is your vessel, the body is your instrument. So you can't not take it on if you're really immersed in your practice and immersed in the situation at hand. So it's an incredible opportunity to be coming back and to be alongside Labi for this process. I was born in Newcastle and I had a small ballet school and I thought, the ballet's just it. And when I went to WAPA, I was really exposed to traditional forms of contemporary dance. And I learnt so much about what it means to be human, let alone what it means to be a dancer. And I was like, and then Australia was just the call out of, can I continue to do this and how can I go for it in Australia? I auditioned for every company until I got a job because I just knew it was possible. Pre-iPhone days and social media. So it was hard to, network, but that's what a place like STRUT is. It's a network hub, it's a community, it's a family. And we stick together because we're few and far between, because so many people do have to travel for the right job, for the right experience, to put themselves in positions of learning and growth. And I think it's incredible that STRUT exists for people who are in these remote circumstances in Australia.
And can I just add to that we talked about the physicality and how do performers and dancers in particular keep up their skill base. So we also have weekly classes, and they're very cost-effective classes and make them very accessible. We have a beginners class, we have a professional class, and then we have open classes, which the format changes. So what that provides is for people from whether they're just in town or they're here to come together and keep up their practice in a way that they can't get elsewhere. I think just to finish with that sustainability and growth question, another really important function of STRUT is really trying to make independent and contemporary dance visible in Australia and visible in Western Australia. And so we have a really strong advocacy role to play and in promoting the value of performers, artists, and translating that value into meaningful conversations with people who don't necessarily understand dance, get it, let alone contemporary dance, because I think if you can sell contemporary dance, you can sell anything. It's a really, sometimes people, they want you to tell them what they're going to see and what it's about. And it's completely, that's not necessarily how you approach it. But, and that locale where we'll have people in community making work will help shape people's understanding about what dance and movement and energy can mean for them. Without them necessarily having to understand dance per se or artists. So that advocacy piece is really important, and through the work we're doing, we're hoping that we're lifting that profile not only in WA but nationally as well.
Yes, it's one of those experiences that when you don't know what's going to happen, or you're not 100% sure what the meaning of it is, and it's drawing you in, and it's sort of firing up all these sort of processes in your brain that are new, and that isn't that audience development side of things that you guys have talked about. And I really felt that when I was watching, the movement going from upstairs, downstairs, outside, wondering what's this like, I had all these feelings of people being, coming off boats and ships and wrecks and coming together and moving, and just getting drawn into this beautiful kind of, ethereal feeling, and feeling in community with the dancers, even though I wasn't a part of the movement. It was extraordinary. And I think that this is what we need in society. We need to be continually firing up our creativity and our innovation. I mean, we're in a world now where AI can take over all the processes and the things that are repetitive and systematize things. And so never before has it been more important in our world to be able to experience and go on the journey that our dancers and our creatives are going to take us on in terms of our own development as a human. And the analogies that we were talking about in the lead up to this around the importance of community, but as a leader brand, it really is unique. What STRUT is doing is unique in Australia, I think. I really love to explore this concept of what it means to be a leader brand for you. Who would like to have a crack at answering that one?
Can I just, I'll start, because that's a good question. I do a lot of comms and marketing, and I have a real interest in what it means to communicate, to really cut through with the message and think about your audience. And I think as a leader brand, you have to be able to translate what you're doing meaningfully to different audiences. We have different stakeholders. We have funders, we have sponsors, we have individual donors. And you have to be able to look outside yourself and see how the purpose and the work you're doing actually provides meaning to other people. It's about being empathetic and really understanding the power of art beyond you as a STRUT, as the individuals. And I think if you can, from my point of view, and as chair of STRUT, I'm constantly looking at what we're doing, going, what does that mean for this audience, this segment? What does that mean for the artist? How might they experience that, as opposed to thinking, this is our brand and this is how people are supposed to experience us. There's a reciprocity there. And I think because we're nimble and agile enough as an organization, we do that. We think about those things very carefully.
And that can be a bit of a tug of war in some regards, to I expect, in any creative organisation, where, the needs of certain stakeholders can be different and demanding, particularly if funders are putting their own sort of backing into things, and if they've got visibility around that funding. And I understand, that then becomes, it's hard when you're at the cutting edge of innovation in dance too, to have compromises. And I'm sure that they're the sorts of conversations and navigation that you have to walk and think, how far can we push the boundaries? How far can we push these things? I can remember being on the board of Tour and New Music and having these kinds of conversations from a music point of view. I can remember taking my husband to a deconstruction of a cello, and it was literally smashing the cello on stage, and it was defined as music. And Simon wasn't really that keen on that experience, but it created some great conversations at home around what does that mean, and what was she saying, and what does it, why? What was the underlying, and what were you feeling as a result of that? Why was it disturbing you? It was great. The conversations that came out of it would never have happened without that experience and the visual experience of that incredible deconstruction of the cello. But these are the things in life that too we have to have as leaders in our fields. And I know that a lot of our audience in Business Women in Australia, across the different sectors and across the different states, are all from different industries. You know, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of sole traders, a lot of startups and ventures, but also very successful women scaling, and also professionals, you know, partners of law firms. We're all navigating, you know, how the world is changing. And Aine, you've just mentioned that it's important to be nimble and adaptable and to understand the needs of your stakeholders. Each segment has its own unique needs, and a successful organisation is able to balance and deliver something for each of those key stakeholders.
I think what.
No, carry on. No. I was just going to say about the cello, because I'm visualizing the cello, but that's exactly my point. That sort of presentation performance invited you in. Whether you were uncomfortable, you had no idea, but it invited you in. It wasn't a fait accompli, because it opened up all of those questions, if you like, and feelings. And so often, so that's, to me, is an open process that invites you in as an audience member and moves you along, as opposed to something that's you know, delivered in such a way that you're not questioning, but you're being entertained necessarily. You know, and sometimes we just do want to be entertained. We don't have to want to work hard, but it stays with you, which is good. Sorry, Sofie.
Absolutely. I agree. And if you want to be entertained, sit at home on the couch and watch Netflix. Let's face it, there's plenty of opportunities for that. Sofie, what were you going to say?
Well, just equally, you know, we are in challenging times for live arts, you know, because people can stay at home watching Netflix. And so I think more than ever, there's a really exciting moment for the live arts to think about how we invite and connect with our audiences. You know, that's why we've shifted outside of the theatre, because we know there's only a certain echelon of people that can afford those tickets to go into the theatre. And, you know, now we are kind of not using, but we use the term dance rather than contemporary dance, because we think that we're celebrating dance as a whole, and the way that people, you know, some through cultures dance at weddings. We connect with the street dance community for our Perth Moves Battle that's in the middle. It's one of our most attended events, because it's just such a exciting form at the moment that people can watch on TikTok, they watch on YouTube, you know, they're learning at home. Like, I think it's a really exciting and important moment in the live arts to reflect on how who it is we're addressing when we're making the work, how it is we're inviting them, is it accessible for them to attend. I think more than ever, that's a really exciting conversation for us to have in the arts. And I just wanted to echo what Aine said about you know, when it comes to being innovative, like really holding on to one's mission in the for the organization. And I think that James and I are super lucky in the sense that, you know, if we were working for our own artistic vision, we would be arguing for our work or sort of promoting our work. But we have the great honor of sort of promoting and valuing all dance, that dance as a whole and many artistic visions. And I find that a real kind of honor, and that leads us to innovation, because we're not sort of homogenizing, we're really diversifying and seeing which kinds of works reach our audiences, how they reach, and, you know, and how they can inform each other actually through their different processes.
Yeah, Tara, I mean, you've come from that sort of ballet background, but, you know, obviously, you know, looking at, I was looking at the work, you know, of Larbi. You know, a lot of Joe averages like me wouldn't even realise that we're seeing a lot of his work through, seeing his Beyonce's, choreographic. It's everywhere around us, and we're not necessarily thinking about all this incredible artistic thinking that goes behind, the music videos and the stories that are backing, these incredible artists across those different genres.
Yeah, it's incredible the amount of work that goes into something so simple. Actually, the responsibility to edit and refine is underplayed in any process. And it's so easy to generate movement from motivating, hopeful place with like really capable, open bodies, minds, spirits. But it's that refining is always the toughest task. But he has a skill that goes across so many different forms of performance, and with so many different bodies and in so many different contexts, that it is really inspiring how he actually has touched so many co-creators, and for him to be present, what that means to imbue Perth with that creativity, and that it is, yeah, it's beyond words. It's pretty incredible. I'm super excited what manifests.
And for him to actually be coming to Perth and working with our local artists here to create something new, I just want to make that really strong point here. This is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, it would have been expected that he'd come and perhaps do something that's already been created, but to work alongside our local artists and for STRUT to be able to provide this platform for this to happen, this amazing experience to happen, and that we're, as an audience, going to be able to see the outcome of that as a first. I mean, let's face it, that's pretty out there. That's big news. It's big news. Okay, so what else have we got here? I just wanted to talk a little bit about STRUT's approach to mentorship. You've definitely sort of picked up on that, Tara, but you made the comment earlier on, it's my time to give back,
Yeah.
And I want to hear a bit about that, because clearly you're on your way. You don't have to be coming back here to be doing this stuff. You want it all around the world, and I know you've got that yearning for being home.
Yeah, and maybe it's becoming a new mother, but it's Australia, the land that calls me, and I know that sometimes it's hard. It's really hard to be an independent artist here. It's really hard to be an early career artist, a mid-career artist, established artist. There is like a lot of there's a really different scene that you are working with to be in a culture that feels quite, like Sofie said, 60,000 years old. So pick it up, people. Let's go and congregate together and and listen to each other. Our curiosity and all those provoking questions that art brings up. And I really want to give back, because I feel like kind of like layering the cake, or it feels like it comes back to me, and I learn how I teach, and I learn about the didactic skills I need to, and you make affirmations when you are able to be in a leadership position. You define what your value systems are. So I feel like I'm returning back, but I can only move forward from here. And I have a lot of, you said, like, the world seems small when you live on the other side for a while. And I have a lot of relationships that are ongoing in this scene with City and Eastman and Labi. It's just amazing that I can continue to refine those collaborations and be home, because it feels like I really am. I am home now. And I guess I also make film, and as a filmmaker, I like the exquisite backdrop of Australia. There's nothing quite like it. And I have this theory that dancers are better in Australia because they know how to be dumped by waves, because we have just
yeah, that's true too, I'm sure.
Yeah, they've got a reputation in Europe to just eat space and know, like really grounded, open feet, and just know how to express from a place that feels like connected to something ancient. And that's what this place brings for me. So I'm just eating up being back. It feels like very timely.
Oh, well, it's good to have you back. And of course, with this 4-year funding, this is great news. But it's not enough. It's not enough. And it's a great segue to think about what is it to be a STRUT mover, and how can donations help STRUT to continue the work that that you're doing. You know, it's really important, isn't it, Sofie, that that it's not just relying. You need to be sustainable. You want to get to a point where you are funded enough, where you're not relying on the funding.
Yeah, that's the dream. Yeah, so yeah, we're very lucky. We're the first dance organisation since 2012 to receive the multi-year funding from Creative Australia, from the federal government. And we're also supported by the LGSC, the state government here in WA. But we do have a portion of our funding allocated to the generous donations of individuals, which comes in through our STRUT Mover program. And we are very lucky this year. I keep saying lucky. We're also hardworking, but we're also lucky that we have been awarded Creative Australia +1 funding, which means that every donation towards Manifest, the show that we're talking about in Forest Place, will be doubled up to the value of 50,000. So any donation that you make essentially will be doubling the impact when it comes in. It's very exciting for us and very important for us. As we mentioned, Manifest will be completely free for audiences to attend, and this doesn't come without a cost to our organisation. So we're really asking for those that can, you know, it's almost like purchasing a bunch of tickets for people that you don't know, for strangers to attend the show, to donate where they can. We have on our website, I'm sure you'll put this in the program notes, but on www.strutdance.org.au/support us is where you can find out more about our Mover program. And it's really gives access to arts lovers, art supporters, people that want to, you know, be involved in the arts but don't know how, to be a part of the art form development itself. It's a really exciting opportunity, and, you know, there are lots of moments where we invite our STRUT movers to come behind the scenes, yeah, and to see really what we do other than the show that you see at the very end. So it's a really exciting opportunity to be a part of STRUT and a part of dance in Western Australia. You can also support us by following us on Facebook and on Instagram. Our handle is STRUT Dance WA, or on LinkedIn, and you can sort of stay up to date with what we're doing.
I mean, just that, what a great Christmas present that would be. Why don't you sign up all your family as STRUT movers for their Christmas present? I mean, that would be extraordinary, because then they get the opportunity to do those behind the scenes experiences and be the first to hear about things. Anya, what kind of person is the sort of person? What are they looking for when they decide to become a STRUT mover?
Yeah. Well, I think about the experiences I have had in dance for 20, 30 years. And I think about myself as a kid growing up, reading Jackie magazine, if anybody is old enough in Europe to remember it, and looking at, you know, stars in the magazines. I mean, the magazines are still here today. And you kind of think that those people only exist in magazines, or if only I could, you know, meet them or have something like them. In actual fact, and talking about STRUT, when you go to some of behind the scenes and you meet the choreographers and you meet the dancers and you meet about their journeys, you are actually rubbing shoulders with the real stars. Now, as somebody who doesn't dance or isn't art, people would say, oh, I don't know anything about the arts, I'm not artistic. The answer is you don't need to be artistic to enjoy the arts. You just have to have a heart and a mind, maybe, and some questioning. And so, you know, we're all talking about dynamic Perth, where's Perth going to be in 2050? Where's Perth going to be in 2029? And we want Perth to be seen as this innovative hub. Well, in actual fact, supporting and being involved with something like this puts Perth a little bit closer along the continuum of achieving that. The arts and culture have an incredible part to play in that ecosystem. And so if you want to have different experiences, if you feel excited about something that's outside your own reality, but you'd love to be a part of it, don't buy the magazine, donate to STRUT, because you will get to go to choreographic workshops, you'll get invited, you might even meet, somebody and feel like that person has touched you. And I think that's a legacy. And you also need to think about the next generation and your children. And, we had a fundraiser earlier in the year as well, where we met people who had children, and they loved talking to us about their dance classes. And this was like something outside of, going to the studio and bringing the children. They were like amazed by the possibilities for people. And so you're actually investing in the possibility for your children and the next generation as well. So there's a whole lot of reasons why you would become a Perth mover that goes beyond, I love dance as an art form, so to speak. And I think for me personally, I donate to various things. I do it because it's the right thing to do. I do it because, and it's not about the amount of money, it's because I know I'm making a difference. And then you visibly get to see that difference. And then finally, I will just say, being able to know so many artists and talk to them about work and their toils, the struggles, is so enriching. It makes me a better person. And it also, that involvement in the arts, and for people who will go to workshops because they have a connection, they bring that. They see process in action. They see outcomes. They see failure in action. They can bring that into their own professional life and go, what did I learn from that? So you're getting a big return on investment, I think, but actually you're just getting pure joy and a sense of connection and learning about yourself. So there are many reasons. They're just a few.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I'm going to jump off so I can jump in and donate straight away. And I hope our all our listeners are thinking the same thing, because it's wonderful that you've opened the doors, that it's not just a closed donation, that it's actually we're becoming a part of the community by being a mover, and we can be a part of the journey and be a part of that development together going forward. To finish off, maybe Sofie, perhaps, you're all helping to put Perth on the map. You really are. It is exciting times ahead. And I'd love you just to share what the most exciting thing for STRUT is going forward.
Well, Manifest is a part of a bigger program called Perth Moves, which is threefold. We have a workshop series for professional dance artists happening at King Street Arts Centre for 3 weeks. So imagine that's going on. There's 20 workshop leaders from all around the world, sort of leading figures of the dance world. And we have about 280 dance artists from the Asia Pacific region that come in to train in this series. And at the same time, across 5 weeks, so it's sort of going either side of the workshop series, the development of Manifest is going on in Perth. City Library Shikawi is coming to Perth, and Tara is coming to Perth, and we're presenting it in Forest Place. And then on that very same stage where Manifest is happening, we have our dance hub, which has a bunch of free dance classes, our huge collaboration with Vibe Squad for our street dance battle, as well as an elderly dance club with all the Queensmen from Victoria. So as you can imagine, it's this huge dance intensive part of Perth Festival, and it's become part of our annual program. And James and I are just so happy that it's there, and it sews together the experiences of dance artists, dance enthusiasts, dance audiences to celebrate dance and connection. And that's what we're here for. So we are so happy to see it in 2025, realize it to its fullest, and then to see it happen consequently in 26, 27, 28.
That's extraordinary. Can I just say congratulations to you all and to everyone involved with STRUT. It just is extraordinary. And I, for one, am very keen to put my dancing shoes off, or maybe kick off what I'm wearing and get my bare feet on and come down and get involved. For those of you ladies who are listening, and for our champions of change who are supporting everything we're all about in diversity and inclusion, in closing the gap across every sector, across every industry, in every little corner of the world. Thank you so much for being on the show, you lovely ladies. And for those listening to our podcast today or in catch-up, isn't it brilliant to have such an incredible national centre for choreographic development right here in Bulu? Fantastic. I urge you all to get engaged, to support this fantastic organisation, these wonderful people, and to shout it from the rooftops. Please share it. Please use this as a great Christmas gift donation. I've actually got some family members in mind that I've been struggling with what to get, and I'm going to be actually signing them up as movers as well. So you can find more information on the STRUT website and in our show notes, and reach out, connect to Anya, Tara, Sofie, me on LinkedIn, and we would love to keep the conversation going. I'll see you soon, ladies, and we might have to get you back on the show when you're on the other side, and we can talk about how it's all going.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
you.
Lyn.
Thanks for having us.
It's been absolutely our pleasure.
You have been listening to the Business Women Australia podcast show. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode and gained some valuable insights to empower you on your journey. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to stay updated in our latest episodes. And if you're not already a member of Business Women Australia, what are you waiting for? Head to our website today and join so that you can connect with a thriving community of inspiring women across Australia. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.